Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
All right, welcome back to Restauranttopia. Thank you for joining us. We have an interesting topic that we've been getting a lot of listener feedback about, and that is third-party delivery services. What are you doing for your off-premise sales, and how can you increase that? And is third-party delivery a mechanism to help you increase your sales? We're going to do a second episode on if you decide to do third-party delivery and how you implement. But today we're just going to talk about basically who are the current players, and is it something that you should consider? What do you guys think of third-party delivery? Have you used it? Have you been on the apps? We got
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm not a big personally. I'm not a big utilizer of the apps for delivery. I know I don't know what it is. Like I feel like maybe because I'm in the industry, I know what they're charging.
Yeah, that's
I feel like I'm taking advantage of the restaurant sometimes. I think that might be psychologically part of it.
It's a little foreshadowing.
It's a little maybe. Maybe. I have my notes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it's also like I don't also go into a restaurant with a Groupon. You know what I mean? Like I think it's the same. For me a little bit at least. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And I also feel like I definitely have my fair share of takeout and off-premises food, but I like going there, pick it up, and I'm old-fashioned like that way.
It's funny because I do that with pizza. I go pick up pizza. I don't ever get pizza delivered to my house. I drive. I just drive to the place. I don't know why. It's just the way I'm wired. Okay. But it's funny because my friends without kids, they all do every app you could ever imagine as far as delivery. But my friends with kids are more in tune with me. It's like, I need food right now. I'm not going to wait on delivery. I'm going to go get it. And
I like that. Or you're just trying to get out of the house.
You're supposed to keep that a secret, buddy.
I think, though, is a great segue, though. That's probably the market leader in off-premises delivery is pizza. I mean, think about that. Like, and why...
Well, the most history. I mean,
correct. And why is that segment of the market gotten it so right? As far as it's a certain type of pizza typically. Maybe Chinese food or some ethnic foods are deliver well. So I think the customer base is starting to realize, there's other options out there and they're willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I see and that's what the research is telling us, that we're going to see a big shift here. Right now, we're seeing about 47% drive-through, 35% takeout, and 18% delivery. They project
Is it that high, 18%?
Yeah, but they're projecting that it could double.
Wow.
Yeah, in the next couple of years, they believe it could get to 50%, which is pretty impressive.
Oh, it's astronomical.
No, and it's such a game changer. So as restaurant owners and operators, what do we do? How do we, do we embrace this? Do we say, this is just a fad, it's going to go away? Or is it something that we really need to consider? And
number one was drive-through? 47%?
Yeah, 47% drive-through.
So think about the scariness of and not that we're for chains, we actually would love them to fail, but think about these large chains with drive-throughs, you know what I mean? Like what they got to be doing right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
this could be chipping away the drive-through.
For 18% to double, somebody's got to
come
down.
from somewhere.
For sure. And is it takeout or is it the drive-through? Potentially the drive-through. So the main four players right now are Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Postmates. The top two are DoorDash at 37% and Grubhub at 30%. That's on top line sales. We're at the end of the year here of 2019. So that's pretty significant, but I think those four players are going to be constantly fighting for market share, and it's going to be different depending on which locality you're in. So the market leader here in Cleveland may be different than the market leader in Dallas, Texas. So you want to, before choosing one of these players to go with or multiple players to go with, you want to determine, who's successful in the community. What provider is going to be the best for you?
Yeah.
And this could change. Like a year from now, if you go with one or two of them, that player may be out of business. A lot of these are
it's upstarts. I mean, anytime you're dealing with upstarts, you never know, right?
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're really not touching the food because they're having third party, independent contractors come in, deliver the food, and they're providing the platform. But to be on their platform, and I'm afraid it's going to be very important as we move forward.
Yeah. And I think it depends on also what kind of concept do you have, what kind of food is it, does it travel well? I mean, I know you Anthony, you had mentioned off mic talking about the where you're at prior to your consulting life was you were in a higher end restaurant. They came to you thought it was a great idea, and then they started talking about the fees, and you're like, what the? You know what I mean? Like get out of here. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, and my answer would be different today, but there was no way I was paying 30% of when you're in the business, and we were doing really well. Like I would say we were all-star level, and we were at like 15% profit margin, which was great. And trust me, we were all happy about it. A lot of high fives went around the office every month when we did our numbers or whatever the case would be. And so I wouldn't even consider it. But this day and age, I would find a way to go about it for sure. It's too popular to ignore.
Yeah. So you didn't execute it when you were there. Has it been executed at that place since you've?
As far as I know, yeah. As far as I know.
And this is a high end.
Fine dining.
Tablecloth fine dining restaurant.
Yeah. Between $30 and $40 a plate, no question.
And so why are restaurateurs doing it? And I tell you what, it's industry trend. It's the customer habits are changing. Some more cool information I found. Average orders, check size, $33.
Wait, that's the average order for delivery?
Yeah.
$33?
$33.
Wow.
I was shocked by that. Frequency. So we talked about the three of us not using it very often, but the average user, 2.5 times a month get delivery.
Wow. Every other week, more.
Yeah. No, I was just talking to my buddy the other day. He was on his way to bankruptcy court because him and his wife were ordering, delivery service 5-6 nights a week. Yeah, and he tells me literally, he looks at me, he goes, "I got to stop. It's killing my disposable income. I can't afford this." He's like, "It's just so damn easy, though. I have to do it."
Was that to make the story funny, or was he really on his way to bankruptcy?
No, he wasn't.
I was like, wow, that's amazing.
No. I wonder if it has put anybody under.
No, but I'll tell you what. Talk about the generational difference too. I'm increasingly replacing carryout with delivery. 30% said somewhat or completely agree. 30% in the 18 to 34. So like the days of driving to the location and getting takeout are going away. People are ordering more and more delivery.
The more and more we talk about this, I think the reason I haven't done it is because I think once I start, it's going to be. I'm going to have a problem.
It's a bad habit. Yeah, you don't want to have to kick it. Yeah, no, I get it.
So
that's funny.
So what can you do? You're thinking about implementing this. You got the top 4 players. Maybe you want 1 or 2 of them to get. You want to get on their platform. Talk to them. They're fighting for market share at this point. The industry average is somewhere between 15 and 30% markup on the cost. So as Anthony said, that's going to really eat into your profit. And we can all kid ourselves it's a marketing tool for so long, and that this is a way to reach our customers. But at the end of the day, even if it's a marketing tool, you still want to make money. So I implore you to negotiate those rates. You can get them, down to the lower end of that. And you also want to, a tool to offset that cost is by increasing your delivery menu. So you'll have your menu on your website for carryout. That'll be one price, 15-30% increase for that delivery menu. And you want to pass that along to the consumer because they're willing to pay now. Mm-hmm. One thing that shocked me about this, and I don't know about you guys, that the consumer is absolutely willing to pay that extra $2 for the hamburger to have it delivered, in addition to all the other costs associated with it.
I mean, it makes sense. If you ask me if I'd rather drive a half hour, use my gas, get out of the house, especially in Ohio winter, or just spend $2 and not have to deal with it, I'll spend the $2 every day.
All day long.
But you tell me $2 on top of my cheeseburger, I get pissed off for some reason.
It is. But when you rationalize it, it makes the decision very easy to make because it's like, oh wow, it's all right. Is it worth whether the total for a family of 3 or whatever, what have you, is it $6 or is it $10? What's the increased cost? Mm-hmm. And you say, oh, it's $10 and I'm going to deliver it here and you never have to do another thing. I'm all in.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things that I think.
What about gratuity? Is gratuity included?
Gratuity, you can tip on top of it.
Okay, so I would tip on top of it. Okay, so I was going to say, because if it replaced gratuity, that'd be a thing, because 15-20%, that makes sense.
I would, but it's.
I'm going to tip anyway.
It's like it's the gig economy. So it's you have these operators that this is their job to whether they're doing Uber part-time or they're doing this part-time or they're doing this full-time, their flexibility is there, but it's the same with Uber or Lyft. I tip those people too.
That's fair.
I mean, especially when I get a great ride, that the vehicle's clean. Same thing, is the food here fast? Is it, is the person nice? And all those sorts of things.
I got into a fight with the first Uber driver years ago when Uber was popular. I was in LA.
Yeah.
And I took one of my first Ubers, and I didn't know there's a difference between Uber XL and regular Uber, and I paid a lot of money for that Navigator. But regardless, I tried to give the guy a tip, and he wanted to fight me. It almost came to blows because I ended up just leaving the money on the ground in the backseat of his car and got out of his car, but he would not take my tip. Yeah. Those are the golden days.
Yeah. But that was one of their big things, was the tip was already included.
Yeah,
And I think they to make their drivers make more money, that they got away from that. And again, I love tipping. I think to show someone that their service did exceptional, like I'm always willing to tip. So that's just mine. But so let's talk about the pros and cons of your decision whether or not to go into using a third-party delivery service. So what are some of you guys? Let's go with pros. It's the easy one, probably.
Well, pros, increase top line sales. Hopefully, like
for sure, right?
I mean, depending on the volume of your restaurant, if you can do a couple $100 a day or $100 a day during a week, couple hundred on the weekends, you got another $1,000 a week in sales. I mean, that could be a big deal for somebody.
No, for sure. If you're currently using a delivery, mechanism now, whether you have some in-house drivers or what have you, typically to have an employee do that, it's going to be 30% over what a delivery cost is going to be. So if you look at it that way, you could be offsetting some of your own delivery costs, whether it's you have to have special insurance on your policy that you're paying for, that is required because you have delivery drivers. It's because you have to hire those people. You have to worry about staffing. So there is some convenience and cost reduction there by going the third-party delivery route.
And liability.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, correct. When they pick it up, it's left your hands. Right. Another one that I was thinking about is finding new customers. Now your customers have the app, or your potential customers have this app. They go on and they say, all right, I want a cheeseburger. And it comes up with 25 different places. If you're not on there, they're not going to see you.
Yeah. So as you said earlier, your hat's not in the ring. If your hat's not in the ring, you don't get a shot.
No,
period. And so I think it kind of harkens back to what I talked about earlier, and maybe on another recording, was sometimes you got to get the effectiveness down first. And by effectiveness, I mean satisfy your customers.
Yeah.
Then you worry about efficiencies. Once you have the effectiveness down, the food quality, the system, everything else, you're giving the customers what they want successfully, then it's your job to go in and make it efficient. And I think profitability in this model falls under efficiency. And so it's almost like you got to take the plunge. You got to satisfy the customers because they're there and they have a want, right? And so I'll be damned if I'm not going to give my customers what they want. Yeah. It's up to me to figure out how to make it profitable and how to make it work for me.
And maybe passing some of the costs along to that customer. And that's a very common practice. So
I don't think it costs anything to be on there. There's not a fee to be a part of it. They're taking 30% of the sale. So if you go on there, you have it priced out, and maybe it doesn't do that much. Like, it didn't hurt you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, you're there. Your hat's in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and again, I don't do a lot of the Uber Eats or Postmates or whatever, but this guy does, and he goes on Uber Eats to make decisions on what he's going to eat. He's like, oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And like you said, you want a cheeseburger, you look it up, but he's actually literally going on and just browsing Uber Eats to decide where he's going to eat.
Yeah.
If you're not on that platform, he's not going to see you.
I totally believe that there will be a dynamic shift over the next 3 or 4 years on this, that there'll be a couple major players push themselves out there. But I think you got to get on it now. I think you got to understand that. I think it's going to be a significant top-line revenue driver. And what that looks like, I think you can realize some real profit from it if you do it right. And we'll talk about on our episode on executing, onboarding a third-party delivery service, how that happens and what that looks like. So let's talk about cons, because I think as restaurant operators, anything that's change is scary, and we may not want to do it, and it's especially if it costs us money. So some cons. What are some cons that you guys can think of off the top of your head?
Well, when I was approached, if you don't mind, when I was approached initially with it, they were asking me to operate at a loss. And it wasn't as popular back then. This is 5-6 years ago. And I laughed at him, like, no, I don't need the business that bad. Like, luckily we were pretty successful, but I'm not going to operate at a loss on purpose. I'm not going to give you this much money to go out. But if you asked me today to do it, I would change my tune altogether. Because again, if you're not in the mix, I think you're getting left behind.
But also, I don't think you have to do it at a loss though either anymore.
No, that's the vision I didn't have.
To just say 30%, you're just doing some quick math. Like, oh, okay, that's not good.
Yeah,
I mean, and I did the same thing when I heard friends of mine that got approached and 25, 30%. I think there was even some 35% out there. I'm going like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I was coaching people. Like, I do something. I'm like, don't. What do you? Now, how many years later we're sitting here for 20 minutes talking about why you should.
Yeah, or definitely consider it. I mean, it's got to be up there. Food delivery in and of itself does your food travel well? Is it something?
From a chef standpoint, I can tell you that'd be a major concern of mine. Yeah. And the whole family of fried foods in general has got to be tough.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you look at the pizza industry and what can we learn from them? It's Neapolitan pizza is not a heavy mover on the delivery. It's a very standard delivery type pizza that we all can imagine and have our favorite local independent that we go to.
Like the pan pizzas and the deep dish pizzas.
Correct. Yeah, because it's gonna deliver well, and if that guy hits 5 houses on his way to your house, it still tastes really good.
Yeah. Well, pizza's amazing cold. Right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but that's a great point. Pizza is amazing cold. Cod is not. Cold.
Is that 2 feet of cod or 3 feet of cod?
Definitely less than a foot. It's
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, whatever fits in the 9x9. It's 9 inches of cod. It's 9 inches. But again, like if you can set the pricing up 30% higher, like I would trim down your menu, because if you've got if you've only got 15 items that you feel travel well, that's what you should have on the delivery app. Like don't set yourself up for failure. You're going to put items on there that aren't going to end up somebody's house in good condition.
I knew an owner that would call in to go order to his restaurant, and he would go pick them up at his restaurant and be like, oh, hey, Tom, I didn't know these are for you, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I didn't want you to. Put them in his car. He would go run his errands for the day, take an hour and a half, and then come back to the restaurant. And then they would open them up and try them as a group. Wow. And I thought that was brilliant. Because then they could see the integrity held up and they could determine just like that. It's an empirical study. Like, this is bad, this is good. Okay, these aren't going to make it, and we got to achieve the brand standard, so only these ones. So our delivery member is only 5 items deep, or menu is only 5 items deep. So what?
And as a chef, I'm sure you can shed some light on this too. Like, is there ingredients changes? Do we have to change the recipe a little bit? Is that tomato, do we soak it in vinegar and salt it heavily and air dry it to really get some of the moisture out of it? Like, so is that something that we have to do that we otherwise would?
Yeah, there's that, and also there's 2 other things. The plating concept has to change dramatically because your sauces have too much surface area. They're going to dry out during delivery, so you got to put your sauces in a cup. It's almost like you got to make what I would call a garnish pack. You have your fresh herbs and you have your sauce, and then maybe some little instructions for the end user, like, all right, Dave, once you get your 2 feet of cod, you take your sauce out, and you dump that over the cod, and then you sprinkle this basil on top of that, so everything has integrity. Yeah. And that's if the end user's willing to go through that 1 or 2 steps to
I think they are.
I would.
Because I mean, when I get takeout, I plate it at home. Yeah. I mean, again, maybe not great, but like, it's
take it out of the box,
put it on a plate. Put it on a plate. Like, I mean, sometimes it just gets eaten in the car on the way home, but
that happens.
That's another con. What percentage of drivers are eating my fries?
Well, but
99.
But now there's a whole product line. And talk to your local independent food distributor on this, on sealing and
the packaging,
package food safe packaging.
Food tampering is a thing.
Food tampering. I'm trying to get the words out of my mouth, and that's exactly what it is.
Of course.
Thank you. So that's something that you want to think about.
And I gotta say, I had a really bad, and this was a takeout experience, but this goes back to like, how does your food going to travel? Are you thoughtful in how you present it or how you package it, separately? So I went to a local burger place, and I love a burger with a sunny side egg on it. I just love that. You just bite into the egg and everything. So they had those.
That's a bold move for takeout. Like,
but I assumed the egg would be on the burger. And of course maybe you get some, but it's going to be on the burger. Well, they serve the egg outside the burger, carryout. Yeah. So it's in a paper, like one of those BioPack boxes. Okay. The burger and the egg sitting next to it, and on the way home, that egg went all over the place. Yeah. And there's yolk all over the inside of the container, all over the burger. All of it was just a complete mess. And I was like so pissed off. I'm like, why would you put the egg on this outside of the burger? You know what I mean? But then I'm thinking like, well, should it go in a container? Should it go on the burger? Like, where should it go? But there was no thought put into that takeout experience.
Almost like a half a thought. It's almost like they got it right, because I thought you were going a different direction. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Put it in a separate box. That when I get home and put the egg on top and the yolk's intact. Because if you put the burger together and the burger is jostling around in there, it's going to smash, But I think they only thought it halfway through.
But it goes through, should this be on our takeout menu at all?
100%. Right? Or delivery menu.
Like
I would say no.
It goes back to that discussion. So, one other con that I was thinking about is this going to cannibalize your existing takeout? To your point, I got takeout. I love going here, and I think you can prevent that from happening with making sure that your delivery menu is more expensive,
Right.
on your takeout menu.
I can't disagree with that. And again, looking back to my situation where I chased them out the door, had I thought through the process and realized that by building my top line sales is going to push my labor percentage down so I can squeeze a little profitability out of there. Also, to your point, pass on a little bit of the cost to the customer, and then develop a menu that A, is more cost effective or cost conscious, that you can't get in the dining room, mostly, that's exclusive to that. And oh, by the way, I'm going to make money on this. Oh, and by the way, it's going to have integrity by the time it gets to your door. I think that would be the answer.
So my final con here is, and this one's I think very significant and maybe one that a lot of people aren't seeing. A lot of the national chains, which they're out there, we can definitely pick up some of their best practices if we obviously wouldn't frequent their restaurants. But the local independent needs to study them. And one thing that I saw over the weekend was 3 different restaurants all touted delivery and talked about it. And they didn't say anything about the 4 platforms that I talked about. They said they focus people to their website, and at the website you can order your delivery. So one, they're making sure that they're maintaining their brand integrity and their identity and pushing the consumer relationship to their website versus a third party. Secondarily, you have to be concerned about the relationships that Grubhub, Uber Eats, what have you, has with other people, because now they have all your data. They know exactly what people are ordering in the community. Hey, people love cheeseburgers in this zip code. We're going to do a ghost kitchen with somebody, or we're going to sell advertisement for this competitor of yours. So these platforms are dealing with other people. So you're building your house on rented land. So you have to be careful of that. Just like you do with your website, you want to make sure you own your website. You don't want to be beholden to Facebook, because one day you could be outside the algorithm on Facebook. You could be outside the algorithm on Grubhub or Uber Eats or what have you. So be very cautious about that when you're considering a strategy to execute a third-party delivery. Is be true to your brand and also protect your brand very, very strongly.
Yeah, that data is very valuable to a lot of people. A lot of people. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought when I first, because again, I was of the mind of, it's a marketing effort. You know what I mean? Before I realized that you could actually price it separately. That you could actually increase the pricing. Yeah. So my thoughts were, if I was somebody that was coming in and I was going to approach you with Uber Eats, I would already have, some sort of survey or some sort of thing that was giving you information back to know, am I being, am I scavenging my own business, my takeout business? Am I, what am I doing? And it could be as simple as 3 questions to say, have you eaten here before? Have you got takeout here before? Whatever, and then you return it back. You return it back for a free dessert or a free appetizer or $5 left your bill or whatever, so you can get some data back. But if I, and again, I don't know if they're ever going to do this, but if I was the one trying to, be out there and push this model, I would want to give some data back to the restaurant so that they could, run their operation properly.
Well, it would generate more sales for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I know you've said this in the past too, but this is David's point, not mine, but don't forget, you have all this money invested in packaging in that delivery. Put a flyer in there, put a menu in there. Make sure that customer is building a relationship with you, not Uber Eats, not Grubhub, so that they're coming back to you when they go onto that app. If they want to do delivery, that they're typing in your name because they had such a good customer experience. So we're going to talk about a ton of other issues that come up when you implement a third-party delivery service and how to best execute that. But we appreciate your time here today. Just want to follow up with, do your research, negotiate the contract. You don't have to pay full boat, increase your menu cost, and really consider the pros and cons, which we'll put in our show notes on restauranttopia.com. Thank you, everyone, for talking with us today, and we encourage you to leave some comments and feedback, because we really care about your opinion.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Restauranttopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast, and also if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restauranttopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you, and have a great day.